Today, our presentation, Credibility Counts, is about visibility and credibility to your organization. So today we want to make sure that you all just understand how and why funders use this Candid platform. We want to make sure that you understand the transparency seals and what that signals to funders like us. We want to walk you through and see how to claim your profile and update that, and also just have you leave here with a clear, achievable next step. So for those that have joined us, if you don't mind, just put in the chat real quick if you are familiar with the platform Candid, or if you are familiar with the former platform, it's called GuideStar. So if you're familiar with either of those platforms, just throw a yes in the chat. Okay. Nice, nice. A couple yeses, some that are unfamiliar. All right, wonderful. Well, we're going to move on to the next slide, please. Cindy, not familiar? Okay, wonderful. So for some of the organizations that have been around for many, many years, some of you all might be more familiar with the platform GuideStar. So today we're talking about Candid, which is a new platform that is the culmination of two former platforms. Um, it started out as Foundation Center, which is a platform that collects grant-making data from all the grant makers, and it's been around since the 1950s. And then GuideStar is a platform that collects information on every nonprofit in the US. And they've been around since about the 1970s. So GuideStar has about almost 2 million nonprofits in its database because they pull the information directly from the IRS site. And so everyone on this call and everyone that has registered on the IRS with the 501c3 is already on the Candid site, because Candid has taken both the Foundation Center as well as GuideStar and put them together to make one universal platform that just talks to many, many different um, platforms. So Candid is subscription based. However, they do offer for free. Organizations can get online and claim their profile because, again, they're already on the site. So they want you to go on, claim your profile, and update information because this information is shared across many platforms. So why does this topic matter? For the Community Foundation, we had a situation occur where a philanthropic advisor was looking at the Candid site at a couple organizations that she wanted to advise her client on. And she asked the foundation about these two organizations because when she went on Candid, their profiles were both empty. So this philanthropic advisor utilized the platform just to get basic information on the organizations. But when she couldn't find that information, she reached out to the Community Foundation to understand why. What was this organization all about? So we want you to know from the Community Foundation side, we want you all to know that there's a growing reliance on third-party validation for many funders in our community. And bringing about this awareness to nonprofits is what the Community Foundation does. So as we learn information, we like to share it with you all. So Candid is partnered with over 2,000 platforms, from technology platforms, giving platforms, grant management systems, as well as firms that hold donor advised funds, like the Community Foundation. Places like Fidelity and Vanguard have staff that caters to their clients by searching and doing the research on individual nonprofits to advise their clients. So a client might come to them to say, hey, I have a charitable interest in animal welfare. Who's doing that work? And those advisors can go online and search at a glance on platforms like Candid to get that information through a simple search. So this information is shared broadly and consistently across many platforms. In the technology field, if there's someone that has a birthday coming up and they say, hey, I want to support this organization for my birthday, um, Candid is a partner in that technology so that they pull the information about the organization that was selected by that person for folks to give. So it's really important that you understand that this information on your organization is already out there, and if you don't update it, then people don't really know what you're all about. So how do funders use Candid? Um, this is used to support due diligence and donor recommendations, like the example I just gave you. This is how we verify the legitimacy and tax status of organizations. It signals organizational readiness. It gives a lot of information about the leadership and finances and mission of various organizations. It's a quick credibility check for looking at various organizations at a glance versus going from site to site to site, trying to piece together information. So this is relied upon for the most accurate and up-to-date information. And this is used again by community foundations like the Capital Region Community Foundation. It's used by private foundations, corporate foundations, again, any platform that has donor advised funds. Philanthropic advisors use this platform. So it's important for you to know that we're all looking at this, and it's important that you understand the benefit to you to have it updated. So it's important to note that keeping your information up to date and accurate is important in how we look at your credibility. It speaks to how transparent you are about the organization. And again, if we have a funder that is interested in an organization with a specific interest, this is a way for us to kind of filter lists to find specific organizations. So the Candid site looks at transparency through different categories with transparency seals. They have four different levels, starting from bronze, going into silver, gold, and platinum. So the bronze transparency seal really just helps donor find you in their database. It's basic information that's shared about your organization and your mission, and it's the most up-to-date contact information if someone is trying to reach out to your organization. The Silver Transparency Seal really helps guide funding decisions because at that level, that means you've provided more information about the programs that you provide at your organization. The gold transparency is really how you gain trust and more support because at that level, you've provided more financial information and are really clear about your leadership. And then at the maximum level is platinum transparency. And that just means that you've highlighted the impact of your organization. So you've shared measurables of your progress and results. So each of those play a role in how we seek out nonprofit organizations when we're talking to our donors, and um, is something that we look at on a regular basis. So next, we're going to do a live walkthrough of what that actually looks like when you go to this site. We want to make sure that you know how to claim your profile, as well as see what it takes to get to each of those transparency levels. And just know that the expectation is very basic for small and emerging nonprofits. Again, just that bronze level can get you at least on a list so that donors are looking at you. And then the higher that you go in information that you present will help funders make more decisions. And you'll see that it's not as complicated as it might sound. So here, if you go to candid.org, it's going to ask you to log in at the top. If you've never been to the site, then you would want to go to claim your profile, and that would allow you to go in and create an account. So either way you can do either or. So once you log in, you're going to go into this little account guy and look at my organizations. If you've been on the site before, if you've been on GuideStar, you have probably been on there and have a profile that you've updated at some time. Um, so if you haven't been on there in a few years, Candid is a newer site that has, taken the data from both the Foundation Center as well as GuideStar into one platform. So GuideStar at some point will go away as far as the website. And right now it leads you to the Candid site. So if you've been on GuideStar and have updated your profile on that platform before, it is now directing you to Candid. So this is the platform that you would be working off of. If you have been on here, then your organization would show, and you could go ahead and start to edit your information. If you haven't been on here before to claim your profile, then you would see to claim profile, it will say select or start now. So today because the foundation has already claimed its profile, we're going to edit so that you can see exactly what it's asking you to do when you claim your profile. The first thing that you will see is a pop-up about the public visibility. That's just letting you know that this information is viewable to all of those partnering platforms that Candid partners with. So those 2,000 sites that I mentioned before. So you can go ahead and accept that information. Again, that is already out there. And it will take you to your organization information. So for the bronze level transparency seal, it's going to ask you again about the most basic information. It's asking about the organization, who you are and what you do, your basic contact information, and any people that are involved in your organization, like your staff and board of directors. And then it will also ask if you want to be included on those giving platforms for donations. So we'll scroll down so you can see what that looks like. Each level will show you what is required to get that transparency seal. So over here, you'll see that it says bronze because this is basic information. We highly suggest that you put your logo just for brand recognition. And you can also add, if you have any taglines or slogans that people reference often about your organization, you can put that in as well. As I mentioned before, Candid pulls information directly from the IRS website frequently. So information that says when you had your ruling year for your IRS status, that will already be in your organization information, as well as your organization type. You can update your mission statement as well as subjects of area. So what kind of work does your organization do? Are you about supporting animals? Are you into education? Various areas of philanthropy, health, science, anything that refers to the work that your organization does, you'll want to add it in this section. You will also want to add in the population you serve, so whether that's adults or youth and children, folks with disabilities, anything like that, you want to make sure that you put that information in. Because again, as a funder, sometimes we're utilizing this platform to make specific lists based off of a donor's interest. So we want to make sure that we are able to pull that information and provide a quick list of who is doing work in that specific area. Going too far. All right. So again, contact information, keeping this up to date is important because from the IRS site, they're pulling that information either from when you first registered. So it could be from the year 1988, if that's when you first got your 501(c)(3) status, um, or sometimes it's pulled from a 990. But again, you want to make sure that it's the most accurate and current up-to-date information because if someone wants to reach out to your organization, this is what they're looking at. And if it's old, then you might be missing out on a funding opportunity. You can include your website. So again, that is required for that bronze transparency seal. These areas that don't have bronze next to it, you can fill those in. So if you have a social media, you can put that in. It's not required to get your bronze transparency seal, but it is recommended that if you have social media, add that because you want funders to be able to find you wherever you are. And then for people information, again, it's going to ask about key contacts and board members as well as staff, and you can just list those as you have them. And then lastly, for a bronze transparency seal, it will ask you if you want to be seen to receive donations. So especially on those platforms like PayPal and Facebook and Google or Apple Pay that have those connections to support nonprofits, this is just a way to make sure that you are visible on those platforms. So that's the most basic of information that will get you onto a filtered list for funders. And next, we'll go look at silver transparency. So silver transparency will just add more information about your programs. And this really helps guide the funding decisions. As I mentioned before, putting in your areas of focus that you are serving. That kind of helps filter in those lists that we're looking at to help make funding decisions. So adding your programs is helpful in that. So if you have a program that provides senior weekend kits, you can add information about that program. If you do a youth garden program, you can add that. However many programs you have, you can add all of those into your platform. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of this information can be pulled from a 990 because Candid does pull that information. However, if you have not claimed your profile, then you don't earn a transparency seal. So there's a possibility that this information could show up in your Candid profile, but if you don't have that transparency seal, you could be missing out being on a filtered list from one of those donor advised or donor advised fund holders filtered list, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure that you continue to update that. And then for a gold transparency seal, that really helps build more trust in the organization because you're at this point adding your financial information. Again, Candid pulls from the IRS site. They have the ability to pull your 990 from that site. But if you have one that's more up to date, you'll just want to make sure that that's updated in this Candid profile. For smaller organizations that don't submit a 990 or they submit a 990N, where it's just reporting that you exist, you can submit that kind of information that you report that 990N or a postcard just so that funders know that you are looking at this. So the site does recommend that you put your most up-to-date financial information. If you do an audit, this is another place that you can upload that information, especially for those funders that are looking to make large investments in an organization. That's something that they would really look at is your 990 and your audit. So if you have that, this is a great place to put that information. So I mentioned more specifically this bronze, silver, and transparency seals because those are the most used and looked at information for a lot of funders. At the next level or the highest level, which is platinum, it's just asking more information about the impact your organization is making. So for a platinum seal, it's just providing the matrix or the impact or any goals and strategy that your organization is working on. And so a lot of that is narrative information that you can enter in. It might sound like it's a lot of work to do, but if you already are doing an impact report for your organization, these are simple areas that you could simply just cut and paste right into this profile so it doesn't take so much time. So that is the basics of looking at and claiming your organizational profile. This year, Candid is offering a special coupon for any organizations that claim their profile and update their information to a gold transparency seal. They are offering a free premium subscription to the website in which you would have access to a foundation directory. So, as I said before, Candid is the combination of Foundation Center and GuideStar. Foundation Center is information about grant makers. GuideStar is the information about nonprofits. It's all in one site speaking to each other. So with that gold transparency seal, Candid will offer over here, if you see where my cursor is, access to their Candid Premium. And you will have access to look at what grant makers are funding specifically. So if you are an organization that focus on youth development, you can search specifically who's funding youth development in Michigan. So highly suggest you update your profile to that gold seal to get that access. Candid has only been in the making for the past 6 years, so it's really new. GuideStar has been around since the 50s, so um, it's just a transition into the main site. So if you've had a GuideStar profile before, just know that now it's a part of Candid, and this is the best time for you to really take a look and update that transparency seal. And this is something that has to be done yearly. So when you update your seals, um, it's good to make sure you make that a part of your regular routine. So just to let you know, the coupon for that premium service is good through December 31st. So Candid just launched their official site as of January. They sent out a press release. So as we learn information, we're sharing it with you all. So you have until the end of the year to do that. The coupon is only good for organizations that are under $1 million revenue or expenses for their operations. So for you larger organizations, they feel that you can add that right into your budget if you want the access to that foundation directory to the grant makers. But any organizations that have expenses or revenue under $1 million, then they are offering one free year of that premium access. So for us at the foundation, we really use Candid on a pretty regular basis. Um, if an organization comes to us and, applies for a grant, if we're not familiar with that organization, the first step that we take is we'll go to Candid and see what's on their profile. And we're looking to see if they have that bronze or silver status. Are they up to date with their IRS status? Do they have any financial information for us to see at a glance with their programs? Things like that. We also use it as information for us to just share with our fund holders. And when we're making those grant recommendations to anyone that has a restricted fund on something specific that they want to support, we utilize that information on a regular basis. So for you all on this call today, we said the next steps for you is to really make sure you go on and claim your profile. Or if you already have a profile, make sure that you update it to get a current transparency seal. Um, each transparency seal will tell you what year it was updated. So if a funder looks at your organization and sees that you haven't updated your profile since 2022 or 2023, that kind of throws up a flag like, where are they at in their journey? So you want to make sure that that information is up to date. You want to make sure that you're identifying the appropriate transparency seal for your organization. As I said, the platinum level is more about the impact of your organization, and the gold level is about the finances. So if you can at least get to a gold level in your transparency seal, that's giving a good bit of information for funders to really start making funding decisions. And as I mentioned before, just make it a part of your annual operations. It is free to do this online, so it's free to claim your profile and make updates and changes to it. You could do it at any time of the year. You could do it when you're working on your impact report, because again, it's really easy to just cut and paste some of that information. Or if you're planning for the next year, it's a good time to update that information. Um, but yeah, easy to make a part of your routine. So there are a lot of resources and support on the Candid website. They have tutorials of how to navigate their site, or just use tutorials on they have tutorials for various things on their site. So whether it's using the foundation directory or searching other nonprofits, that information is available through their Candid Learning. They also have information on nonprofit research or sector reports. And this is really helpful when you're thinking about, federal funding. There's things that are changing on a regular basis, and they really try to keep up with that information. So there's a lot of resources available there. And then at the end of the day, you also have your team here at the Community Foundation. We will help guide you as best as possible. We're not the candid experts on their site, but as we learn information, we want to make sure that we're sharing it with you. So we encourage you to go on and update your profiles. And again, for those organizations that have under $1 million budget, if you get to that gold transparency seal, you can get that coupon for the free directory to help, enhance your fundraising efforts. So it's a win-win for both sides of grant seekers as well as grant makers.